Today we are going to share with you the best places in the world to set up an offshore company with 0% tax. This is the only video you need to watch on this subject because every country and corporate structure I'm going to show you today is one I currently use or have used personally. That's important to know because when you research this topic on your own, you often come across blogs or YouTubers recommending countries that sound good in theory, like the BVI or Jersey. Personally, we have mentioned them in many videos because yes, they do have zero tax, but in many cases, they are not the best option because banking infrastructure doesn't work. They look great in paper, but not in practice. That's why I always recommend doing things smartly with professionals who do this every day. If you need our help, there is a form in the description. I want to break this video down into 3 parts. First, we will cover transparent structures in top-tier countries. Second, we will look at interesting offshore jurisdictions that are not transparent. And third, we will relieve the crown jewel for asset protection. Let's start by explaining that transparent entities are companies that don't pay taxes themselves. The money flows directly to the owner, shareholder, or holding company in most cases, unless other countries treat this as a dividend distribution, which is only in specific situations. The first country on the list is the US, the United States. This model is excellent for businesses, but also for asset protection, because you can form anonymous companies, use them to withdraw crypto or cash, and they serve many purposes. You can use PayPal, Stripe, Hotmart, Wise, Relay, especially for beginners. Access real payment processor even for high-risk businesses. Form the company in one day. Get local accounts like Chase, JP Morgan or Bank of America. Moreover, US LLCs have a great reputation. No one sees the US as a tax haven, which is an advantage. That's why many of our clients choose to create their LLC with us and even leverage American credit. The second jurisdiction is the UK, specifically using LLPs. They operate almost identically to the US LLCs. They are transparent entities. If you are not a UK citizen or tax resident and most of your clients are also abroad, you can structure an LLP that's completely tax-free. You will get direct access to Europe, incorporation in 1-2 days, local bank accounts like Barclays, fintech options like Revolut or Airwallex. Yes, US LLC doesn't have public register, but UK LLPs are faster to set up. It's true we can add nominees to LLPs for a layer of privacy, but it still doesn't compare to the US, where even the state secretary doesn't know who you are. In the end, the best option depends on where you live, where your clients are, and what your goals are. The third country in this category is Canada, where you can create a zero tax LLP from British Columbia. It works almost exactly like in the US and the UK. Compatible with PayPal and Stripe, excellent fintech banking, possibility of local banking. Now, if you live in Canada or are a Canadian citizen, it's not recommended at all, because the country is extremely woke and fiscally aggressive. But if you are not a resident, you can create a fully legal anonymous LLP. The only difference, LLPs require 2 members, while US LLC can be formed with just 1. We could also mention Cyprus LLPs, since they are within the European Union and make VAT handling easier. But the banking there isn't as good as in the UK or US. Anonymity isn't on the same level, so in most cases it's not ideal unless your business model specifically calls for it. Now, entering part 2 of the video, we need to talk about offshore countries and structures where not dealing with transparency, but rather companies that pay 0% corporate tax and 0% withholding tax on dividends. Probably the most famous offshore destination in the world is the Kaiman Islands, and while it's true that impose no taxes as mentioned, if you also reside there, you don't pay personal income tax either. Plus, the infrastructure is excellent. You can replicate US LLC type structures, but set them up as real corporations with economic substance. Many clients are interested in building that substance themselves in the Kaiman Islands, which also allows you to obtain residency and access multiple benefits as a financial company. But if you don't want to build your own substance, our team on the ground can help you with nominee directors and local employees. This setup is ideal if you want to create a financial company, a trading firm, or an investment fund. That's why the Kaiman Islands remain one of the favorite jurisdictions for ultra high net worth individuals. Now let's move to another crown jewel that must be closely watched: Hong Kong. Hong Kong has taxes if you use the local regime, but the advantage is that you can apply for offshore tax exemption as long as you don't live in Hong Kong, you don't have an office there, your income is generated outside the territory. This gives you full tax exemption. It's ideal for building an e-commerce company in Asia with access to payment gateways and banks like Bank of China and UOB. The only drawback is that accounting and auditing are required, which can be a bit of a burden for some entrepreneurs, but without a doubt, thanks to its banking infrastructure, privacy, tax advantages, and international reputation, Hong Kong remains a well-used jurisdiction. Still in Asia, I want to mention Singapore, as many people centralize their holding structure there. It has no dividend tax, but we don't always recommend Singapore to every client. However, if you are someone looking to diversify globally and build a solid and secure infrastructure, then it can be a great option. It's one of the safest jurisdictions in the world, ideal for ultra-high net worth individuals, company requiring asset protections, storing precious metals like gold, silver, or platinum, and opening world-class bank accounts like DBS. Now we are going to move to the third part of the video, another top jurisdiction we can ignore when we are talking about asset protection, and that country is Cook Islands. And here we are not talking about using it for invoicing, but for protecting your entire wealth. We are talking about an offshore trust, an asset protection trust. Ideal if you don't live in the Cook Islands, you have no personal or business ties there, you don't directly control decisions and the controlling beneficiary. Under these conditions, you can protect your wealth against lawsuits, taxes, and foreign courts. It's a way to keep your wealth safe. Money, real estate, crypto, equity stakes, without anyone being able to touch it. On top of that, the Cook Islands don't recognize foreign judgment, adding an extra layer of legal shielding. The only caveat is that requires professional advisory and pre-conflict legal planning, but if done correctly, this is the strongest trust in the world. That's why it remains the top option to preserve what already belongs to you. Clearly, if you want this level of protection, setup and maintenance cost starts in the 5-figure range. It's been a lot of information, but now you have the full picture from a real, practical perspective. We could mention other important jurisdictions like navies for asset protections, the Bahamas, Jersey, Bermuda, the UAE, Panama, Mauritius. There are many options, as you can see. So if you need help to structure your ideas, design a clear plan, create your offshore company, holding foundation or zero tax structure, secure reliable banking and real payment gateways, not those that block you without warning, you just have to fill out the form in the description and we will get you in touch with you, maybe on a call, in the next video, or in person at our office.